Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry Carly couldn't make it. Thanks for putting up with me. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am not a scientist. I think there was a point in time when I was like a little kid, for like a minute, I wanted to be a scientist, but I am what like a learning professional would say is just like not very smart. It's okay. You know what? I'm not a scientist. You know what? I do other stuff. It's all right. But here's the thing. I'm not very smart. I'm not very well educated either. But and you know what? It's fine normally. I live a normal life. Here's the thing though. I do really, really, really like smart girls. Like, look, all right. Everyone's got like the preferences, right? Some people like blondes, some people like brunettes. You know, hook me up with a girl who's got like several graduate degrees and like a mountain of debt. Like, that's my jam. I love that. And so I want to elaborate. When I say I'm like not very educated, what I mean is I do have a degree, but it is in painting. And I have like a middle average. Like, do you know how bad of a student you have to be to get like a B- in painting when that's your major? They had us read like 4 books the whole time. I don't even think they were hard books, but you know what? I would know because I didn't even read them. So I'm not very smart. I'm not very well educated. And because of that, when someone who's like really brilliant, like really smart, falls for me, it is just like, oh my God, there's like nothing like it. It just feels incredible. But here's the thing, I'm not like them. So, you know, I'm doing my best. I'm out there, I'm fighting the good fight. But you know, it's difficult. And it was a couple of years ago when I had met this woman, Jamie. And Jamie has like the 3 things I really look for in a partner. 1, she was beautiful, stunning. 2, she had a PhD. 3, she was willing to go out with me. And against all odds, we like started dating. We had gone on like a couple of dates, and it was going, I would say, you know, medium. You know, I was taking her on pretty standard dates. We'd go out to a bar, I'd try and be charming, try and be funny. You know, we'd laugh. And at the end of the date, she would always ask me out again. So I thought I was doing pretty good. But then whenever I went to kiss her, she would do that move. Do you know that move where she would turn her head and I would get her cheek? So I think we were on our 3rd date. And finally, I just decided to be straightforward. And I was like, Jamie, look, are you even attracted to me? And she said, oh my God, Adam, I think you are so funny. So, but then she asked me out again. So I accepted, but you know what? I knew like the fuse was lit on this thing. Like I knew I didn't have a lot of time left. There are only so many dates someone that beautiful and that smart is gonna go on with someone like me unless I could like make something happen, right? So I went home and I'm like pacing around and I'm trying to come up with like, what am I gonna do to win this girl over? And then looking at the New York Times, I saw it. The Central Park Squirrel Census. So if you don't know what this is, the leading squirrel scientists in North America had decided that we had to count every squirrel in Central Park, and they needed our help. Now, this date had a couple things going for it. 1, it was cheap. 2, it was adorable. And 3, I had a secret weapon. I happen to be an expert on squirrels. You see, when I was a little kid, it just so happened I was deathly afraid of squirrels. And my father, who's a high school biology teacher, set up a little squirrel feeder in the backyard so I could get used to them. And over a period of months, as like I would watch these adorable little creatures like eat and play, he would teach me squirrel facts. For instance, squirrel tails, famous, right? They use them for so much stuff. When you see squirrels flipping their tails around, they are communicating with one another. At night, for comfort, for warmth, they use their tails as little security blankets. If a squirrel happens to misstep and fall out of a tree, their tails, makeshift parachutes. And And while squirrels do not like to swim, they're able to. And if they do, their tails become little rudders. I even knew after like a ton of research what their favorite food is. It's hazelnuts, okay? You can take that to the bank. So I knew I had found the absolute perfect date. Now, here's the thing. If you start telling people that you're going to go to Central Park and count every squirrel, they have questions. The first one is always why. The answer to that is, why not? Mind your own business. The second question is, well, hang on a minute. So this helps the squirrels in some way, right? Right? This is like to help them? And the answer is, yeah, sure, whatever. And the third question is always without fail, well, how do you make sure you're not counting the same squirrel over and over again? Because here's the thing, squirrels all look alike, and pretty famously, they move around. And the answer to that is, how about you shut the fuck up? Did you listen to me? We are doing this. Here, let me break it down for you. Okay, Jamie and I, we're gonna go to Central Park on the most beautiful fall day of the year. We're gonna count up all these fucking squirrels. And she's gonna see how much I adore and know about like these adorable little critters, and she's gonna fall in love with me on the spot. And in the middle of Central Park, on the most beautiful fall day of the year, we're gonna have our first kiss while we're surrounded by squirrels who are gonna be leaping around and burying nuts, and it's gonna be just like fucking Snow White, so you get on board. Jesus Christ. So, the appointed day finally comes, and it's looking great. It was, in fact, the most beautiful day of the year. And we show up to the appointed spot, and Jesus Christ, I was not ready for this. Any idea that I had that I was going to be like, the big squirrel guy when we got there, that was dashed when I saw what was going on. People had come from all over, and these people who had come to count squirrels, they were squirrel fanatics. Okay, like I'm not kidding you. There were squirrel pins, squirrel hats. People had bedazzled squirrel jackets. People had face painted themselves. I'm nuts for squirrels. It was like squirrel Mardi Gras or something over there. And I realized too late that while I had been spending all this time merely learning about squirrels, they had been living it. So we finally meet the guy who's in charge of this, the preeminent squirrel scientist in North America, this guy, Bob. Bob was gonna help us count up all the squirrels. And don't worry, Bob had a system, he had a plan. He handed out these little slips of paper with boxes on them. He goes, okay, here's how it works. Okay, you go to your squirrel sector, you're counting the squirrels in this little section. And the first box is what squirrel number it is. 1, 2, great. The second one, what color is the squirrel? Gray, got it. But the third box was interesting. The third box was like a little more amorphous. Like the third one was like, well, what do you think is going on with this squirrel? Like, is he happy? Is he sad? Does he have a crook in his tail? Does he have a limp? What do you think he's thinking? And he said, this is the most important part. We call this science storytelling. Now, this is the kind of science that I know I can get behind, fake. But Jamie is a real scientist. She was not having it. She had a lot of questions. She had questions about the methodology. She had questions about something called an algorithm that he was using. I don't know what they were talking about, but they started getting into like a heated discussion. What I did know was that we were burning daylight. We were running out of time, and I had a schedule. If we were gonna count all these squirrels, fall in love, and have our first kiss, we had to get moving. Like I had to get her out of this. So I just sort of went rogue and started counting squirrels right on the spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, bing, boom, pow. And Jamie looked at me and she cried, what are you doing? We're not in the sector yet. You're not following the rules. I said, that's right, baby, I don't follow the rules. But God damn it, I get results. She goes, well, that's what I'm worried about because this is science and we have to get the right results. And I was like, I don't know what you're saying. 10, 11, 12. She goes, all right, we'll go to the sector. So we walk off to the squirrel sector, and at first things are going great. Count them, 1, 2, 3. Color, gray, gray, gray. But it was in the third category that I really started to shine. What was going on with the squirrels? At first I started out slow. Yeah, the squirrel looks like, he probably had a late night with the boys. He looks a little sleepy, a little tired. But after we had been there about a half hour, I was like, Bartleby could barely drag himself out of the nest. The color of every acorn reminded him of her eyes. He wasn't sure if he could go on. Lorraine, on the other hand, sprang down the path, bright spring in every step. Now that she was free from that drip Bartleby, it was a new day for Lorraine, and she was going to live it to the fullest. Jamie didn't like this. She goes, "What are you doing? This is not science." And I said, "Well, you're kind of missing the point. Like, we're on a fun date, we're counting squirrels, we're doing this science storytelling thing, and we're having fun." And before I knew it, we were having an argument about, the validity of this whole science project, like what color a squirrel exactly was, whether or not we were having fun, whether or not we enjoyed one another's company. And I slowly realized that this date was going even worse than any of the others. And in fact, we were not going to be falling in love. We were not going to be sharing a kiss. And I was not going to be getting a fifth date. And in fact, I was right. I never saw Jamie after that night, that afternoon. It was a couple of years later, and like countless dead-end dates, when I met Tracy, this beautiful, adorable psychoanalyst with several graduate degrees under her belt. Tracy's glasses were so big, she looked like she could read a book on the moon. She had more freckles than I have words in my entire goddamn vocabulary. And against all odds, she liked me. And Tracy didn't know a lot about squirrels, but she really appreciated how much I loved these little animals. And pretty soon we were spending every morning going to the park, feeding them. For our 1-year anniversary, I gifted Tracy her first little squirrel feeder. It's called Tracy's Place. It has little bar stools so the squirrels can sit on them. And she got to know all of her neighborhood squirrels. There are 3 of them. Jumpy, Sir Nutkin, and Petunia. And every morning they wake her up at 6 a.m., tapping on her bedroom window and follow her outside as she goes to prepare their breakfast, a handful of hazelnuts. And I sit there and watch as she dumps these hazelnuts into Tracy's Place, and we lay back in the bed and watch them open them with their little teeth and flip their tails back and forth and communicate and live their little squirrel lives. And I can tell you guys, I've never been so happy. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Adam Selbst.